Alrighty, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see who else rolls in today. Alrighty. So first things first, I do have your midterms to give back. So I'll come around with those for those of you who are here. Folks who are on Zoom, you can pick them up the next time that you are in person. In general, folks think well on you, so it's the only time people do as well is if they just speak to them themselves. If you answered it in general all as well. Any kind of helpful order for myself. We're gonna get some steps, right? No, you did the wrong one. Yeah, you're totally right. I just. Was like, she could place something over here. Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah, the average on this was a 92, so you guys did great. And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to come talk to me about them, because I'm always willing to chat with y'all. Okay. So I realized today that before break, I was actually supposed to start talking about neglect. I'd only given us one day to talk about frontal lobe dysfunction for some reason. I don't know why. We'll just make it work and talk about neglect today. And so I'm gonna start by just doing some of the more lecture-y stuff. And if we get to a good place for it, we'll stop and do the case study. If not, we'll do the case study on Wednesday. I'm flexible. We'll get through the material. It'll all work out. So, like I said, we're gonna start by talking about neglect in general and what it is, and then we'll go from there. And so hemi-neglect is where you have focal damage in one hemisphere, and your awareness of stimuli in the space on the side opposite to where the damage is, because remember, we have contralateral connections, or our left side controls the right side of our body, our right side controls the left side of our body, right? So on the opposite side, we will have apparent unawareness of or unresponsiveness to stimuli in that space. The most common is visual hemi-neglect, but you certainly can have it in the other senses as well. And so to understand hemi-neglect, I'm gonna start by showing a couple of videos of folks who have neglect, and then we will talk more about attention as a process, simply because it is at the root of neglect, right? In order to neglect something, that means you're not paying attention to it. But I want to start with a couple videos that show little pieces of what it's like to have neglect. And I'll actually start with this one.
Left neglect is a neurological condition, usually as a result of damage to the right side of your brain, often following a stroke or a hemorrhage or a traumatic brain injury, in which your brain no longer pays attention to anything on the left side of anything, including the left side of you. So the person who has this isn't blind. Their eyes see, the part of the brain responsible for vision works, but your brain no longer pays attention. You're no longer aware of anything on the left. Like Still Alice, I brought my neuroscience background to this story, and I did a lot of research up front. So I spent about 3 to 4 months before I started writing anything just talking to people who have left neglect, people who treat this. I'm talking about a pathological inattention. And I wanted that to be sort of a metaphor for all the ways in our lives right now as a culture that we're not really paying attention to our own selves, our relationships. We're all, doing 5 things at once instead of 1 thing at once. We're multitasking from the moment we wake up to the moment our head hits the pillow. We're trying to be more, do more, have more in a 24-hour period. And sort of the biggest way that people are doing this, that's actually, I think, like the epidemic of this century, because we're on our cell phones in the car. We're texting.
Little side note, this came out way before COVID, so she's not like harsh, I guess is what I should
We're
say.
calling, and it's causing a lot of fatalities. It's a huge problem, and this is a huge example of where we're not paying attention to what we're supposed to be paying attention to, which is the road, and we're distracted. We're doing something else, and we think of this as normal. So I thought, here's the perfect way for Sarah to cause the condition that's going to cause her to stop and change her life. There's a lot I hope readers take home from this. I hope readers learn a little bit about traumatic brain injury and left side neglect. That's the nerdy neuroscientist in me hopes that they learn a little something. But I really hope that readers also take the opportunity to rethink their own lives, their busy, crazy, multitasked lives, and maybe slow down a little.
So she's gonna get a little preachy about that, but it is something interesting to think about, and it was on your SGA for this chapter. Why is it illegal in a lot of jurisdictions now, including Virginia and Virginia Beach in particular, to text or be on your cell phone and drive at the same time? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So if you're texting, right, you're automatically not looking at the road, right? And even if you're on the phone, particularly if it's in your hand, you've already got one hand off the wheel, right? And you aren't really looking. So really interestingly, my cognitive professor, so like the equivalent of Dr. Ariel in college, she had studied eye tracking with driving in like a driving simulator, and they had people talk on their phone, and then they had people talk on a hands-free set. And even if you're using like your Bluetooth hands-free set, or at that point it was like a little speaker in your ear, your eyes don't focus on the road as much. It's really interesting. And one day she'd been working on this research, and she came home and someone had hit the side of her apartment building with their car because they've been on the phone instead of paying attention to driving. So yeah, please be careful. I know it's really tempting. I am guilty of doing it every once in a while, right? But like, just put that phone down. I know some of my alums that I get in contact with, I'll text them, they'll have something on that says like, I'm driving right now, I'll hit you when I stop. Like, I like having you all as students. I don't want you to end up in the hospital or worse. So, yeah, taking care of them. So we have a limited capacity for our attention. And there's all these people who talk about how multitasking is so good. Multitasking is so awesome. We're not actually physically able to multitask. What we do is task switch. So like if you're doing 2 things at once, you're like doing one for a little bit and then you kind of switch and do the other one for a little bit, right? And we're not really good at doing that as humans. And texting and driving is a really good example. I don't remember if Mythbusters ever did texting and driving. I know the Try Guys did. The Try Guys did a series of videos where they had people drive normally, then drunk, then high, then sleep deprived, and then while texting. And like they did worse texting than almost any of the other ones because they were like running into obstacles and things like that. Because so much of your attention is drawn from it, right? And so that becomes a problem. And so our performance on tasks suffers whenever we try to divide attention between too many tasks. And if that task is operating a 1,000-pound weapon, which is basically what a car can be, right? It becomes pretty scary. So definitely something we want to be careful about. So this next one is another visual neglect person.
Hey, babe.
I thought you were making dinner. It's
Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Better communication? Maybe tomorrow. Tonight, Panera. Solving crunch time and dinner with one easy swipe. That's big. Panera. $0 delivery fee for a limited time.
Unlike Graham, Peggy Palmer has normal vision. She should be able to copy this star easily.
I'll never get this star. I'm hopeless at this.
But something odd is happening. One whole side of the star is missing. Peggy has a condition called visual neglect.
And just a sec. Aha, it's like there's somewhere that the volume is not quite right. This might be loud for a second until I turn on the YouTube here, but it's going to be a lot better.
Although her eyesight is fine, half of her visual world no longer seems to matter. 10 years ago, Peggy suffered a stroke in the parietal lobes of her brain.
The parietal lobes are concerned mainly with creating a three-dimensional representation of the spatial layout of the world, allowing a person to walk around, to navigate, to avoid bumping into things. When the right parietal is damaged, the patient is unable to deal with the left side of the world.
This condition has fascinated neurologists for more than a century because it reveals not only how the brain shapes the way we perceive space in the present, it even determines the spatial look of our memories. This became apparent when Peggy was asked to draw a daisy from memory.
Right. A daisy it shall be.
For neuropsychologist Peter Halligan, Peggy's drawings reveal exactly what's gone wrong.
Is like a radar system, whereby the actual radar system on the left-hand side is no longer working well. If someone comes in on my left-hand side now, or I hear a sound, my eyes will immediately move to the left-hand side. That makes me, for evolutionary purposes, very aware of my environment. Because if I wasn't aware of those things, I'd have accidents. I'd get hurt, or I might get eaten by wild animals and whatever. Now, in Peggy's case, she will not attend to those things that we would normally be aware of.
Peggy thinks she's drawn her daisies right, until it's pointed out to her.
You've noticed that, have you?
Oh dear.
So what Peggy's drawn for us is several nice daisies with the left side missing. Same with this one, and this one. And look at this one, this is a very good example.
I've done it on all of them.
Which means that she's not only neglecting events in the world, but when she conjures up a mental image, she's ignoring the left side of that mental image.
Well, I thought I was going all the way round, you see.
And this shows you that this is not simply a sensory problem, but a problem of consciousness.
And so this is really important that, like, when it's called out, she can notice it, right? But in the moment, she truly believed she was drawing it all the way around. But this is what her brain told her. Her brain told her, yeah, you drew it all the way around. It didn't tell her you missed this part.
I don't know. It's because I was so concentrating on that side. It takes everything away, you see. There's attention, really. It's taken away. There must be two attentions somewhere in your body. That one side's taking the other one away. I can't make it out at all. Very odd.
So that gives you a little bit of a vibe here. Yeah, Sam. Sorry, I'm going to turn this off because I can't really hear you. Oh, good, oh, good. See it one more time. Exactly. Yeah. So one of the tests we give to test for this is called the draw a clock task. It's literally you have them draw a clock. And yeah, if they have encephalitis, or they have a stroke, or they have some other reason why one side of their parietal lobes is not processing that information, they'll only draw half the clock. And sometimes they'll even draw 12 to 11 all on one side of the clock. Like to squish them all in there, kind of like she tried to do with the petals, right? Yeah, excellent, excellent. And actually, I think I might have some more diagrams of that. Let me click over here to our PowerPoints. There we go. Slowly, slowly. Yeah, I don't have the clock, but I do have, you see, them trying to copy. And this is a study where they had people, where like these glasses that had prisms in them that shifted their vision, 10 degrees to the right, essentially into the part they were neglecting. And what we found is there was an immediate reduction. Well, I didn't find it. What they found was an immediate reduction in field neglect. And so it seems like the executive attentional system, the part of your frontal cortex that tells the rest of your brain, hey, pay attention to everything, was sort of activated by using those glasses. And then they did the same thing with the control patient, but they had them wear goggles, and instead of these prism glasses. And as you can see, it didn't change it like this did. And so I don't know if you guys can see this, it's a little blurry up here, but basically when they copied it without prisms, they just did half the house and then the trees on this side. And then when they had them copy it after sort of like getting used to wearing those prisms, they did this thing. That's really cool. So there are ways we can sort of correct for this, if that makes sense. Although they certainly aren't necessarily something we want permanently. Let me just Google image search real quick here. The draw clock test, because it's the most interesting and striking. Yeah. So yeah, here you go. They will put all of the numbers on one side. They'll even shift the hands over sometimes. And then here is a whole host of various things that people will do in the clock test with other disorders. So yeah, and like sometimes they'll kind of come back over. Like here's this person kind of recognizing that like 11 should connect back to 12, right? But yeah, that they will just struggle, and they will truly believe that they drew the whole clock, just like the woman truly believes she drew the whole daisy, right? And so that becomes a really interesting part of working with these folks. And part of what happens here is that they struggle with this. You heard this in the last video. It's like an aspect of consciousness. Like they can see what's there, but they don't consciously realize they're seeing it. They don't consciously even realize they're neglecting it, if that makes sense. And so we have to kind of think about not only attention, but like the conscious awareness of that attention. Attention itself is a mental spotlight. It's selective awareness of a part of the environment. And a lot of times we're not aware of the process. It's not conscious. We do have nonverbal processing that goes on without us having to purposely think it through. Things like blind sights that we watched the video about earlier in the semester, where you don't realize you can see the one that's different, but you can, right? The Arnold Schwarzenegger guy explained it to us, right? You can also have stuff like blind touch, where your sensory system for touch is messed up. and you don't realize you're touching something. Consciousness itself can even be hard to define. So consciousness is essentially awareness, but more than that, it is awareness of awareness. It's being aware that you can be aware of things, right? And so you can have automatic processing that just kind of does its own thing. But then you can also have conscious processing where you have sort of think it through, right? And so there are things that can happen to our awareness, to our consciousness, as people, I'm making assumptions, but as people who essentially do not have heavy neglect, do not have some sort of attentional issues. And so there's a couple of videos here looking at awareness. And so this first one is just a video, and it's going to give you instructions on what you're supposed to do.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in black make?
Okay, so to ask you how many passes the team in black makes, I'm going to hide the captions so they don't get in the way of you all being able to see how many passes they make. And I will take it back to the start. So pay attention to the video, see how many passes they make.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in black make? The answer is 19. But did you see the stormtrooper?
Alrighty. So that's the first time I've actually counted correctly. I always let it up when I watch it because I'm usually looking for the stormtroopers because I know it's there. How many people did see the stormtrooper the first time? Okay, so a lot of you are probably aware of what they were getting at, right? And there's a famous version of this where there's a gorilla, like somebody dresses a gorilla and goes like this, right? But the idea is that a lot of people will not see that stormtrooper because they're focused so much on the passes. And I have a little video about that here. Okay, well, we open. Good idea. Thanks, video.
Most of the time, our vision does a wonderful job, but there's a limit to how much our brains can cope with. So we just pay attention to one thing at a time, and we're blind to the rest.
The brain has a huge amount of information being delivered to it by the eyes. It has to make a decision. It has to decide where to place its attention, what information it should scrutinise, what information it should ignore.
To test just how much we ignore, we've asked Richard Wiseman and the London Towers basketball team to try out an experiment designed by scientists at Harvard University. The idea is simple but silly. We film the team practicing, and then this happens. Surely no one would miss that. We get a group of people together, and Richard briefs them to watch the screen without letting on what they're being tested for.
So this is an experiment. It's a battle of the sexes, men against women. There'll be a difference, but I'm not going to say which way round it's going to be. And it's just a simple observation test. All you need to do is you'll see there are 3 guys in yellow here, and they have a basketball. And it's your job to count the number of times they throw the basketball to each other. Now, to make things slightly harder, there's also 3 guys in blue tracksuits. But you ignore them, ignore their basketball, and just concentrate on this one. So if we can run the tape. Okay, so that's number
Just want to point out how unscientific this is. They're clearly in like a pub, everybody's got beer, but you know what? It's fun for TV.
Crucially, the volunteers are told to count how many times the yellow team passes the ball. But will that be enough to make them miss the gorilla? So did they see anything?
Okay, if we can stop the tape there for the moment. So how many basketball throws? 20? Any more others? 21? Okay. Okay, be honest here. Anybody notice anything a little bit unusual? Be honest. Okay, it's just about 4 or 5 of you. Excellent. The rest of you not noticed anything strange, honest? Okay. Right. For you guys, enjoy this moment. When the first time I saw this, it completely threw me. Now I want you to watch the tape again, but this time just watch it as you would a normal piece of television. No counting the basketball, anything like that. If we can have the tape.
Time to show them what they missed.
Here it comes.
Because they were all concentrating on counting, their brains just didn't register the gorilla.
I'm absolutely shocked. I can't believe it. I was so proud of myself as well because I got all 20. And I was so busy concentrating on it that I didn't know.
Kind of embarrassed. I thought I'd spot a monkey walking across the middle of the screen.
I was completely astounded. It was just kind of like when he did the kind of like that, I was just absolutely amazed. I was gobsmacked, I'd say. It's kind of, I can't believe, and saying they might have probably switched the video or something like that. I can't believe that you could miss something that obvious.
That's really bizarre. It's freaked me out a bit.
Yeah, and so that's often what we actually see is that folks are shocked by it, right? They have no idea it's coming. So, like, why? How? What? But when you concentrate in that much, you can actually miss things like this. You can also miss things that are really obvious. So this has to do with change blindness, where you don't notice when something changes. And I have a couple different videos about this. I'll start off with this one. Oh no, BBC. BBC says no. Alrighty. Hopefully this will work. Hey, there we go. Catchy here.
Most of us think we're pretty observant, but with a bit of mind control, I wanted to see if I could make these people take even the most obvious things for granted. Excuse me, do you know how to get to Trinity Church from here?
Yeah. You see that church down there?
Yep, straight through there.
And then you keep going down.
Excuse me. Sorry, which way?
You see where that church is down there?
Yeah.
You stay on that, which is, I believe, Broadway. And then you walk down 2 or 3 blocks and Trinity Church is on the right-hand side. We're walking in that direction.
Excuse me, you don't know where Trinity Church is, do you?
Might be Wall Street and Broadway.
Okay. Well, we're down here somewhere, aren't we?
Yeah, you see Trinity Church.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Inside the Trinity Church, right there. Yeah. If you keep going that way, you'll hit Broadway, then you go down a couple of blocks. And
Thanks very much. That seemed almost too easy, so later on I see how far I can take it. Excuse me, do you know where...
So what they're doing is, usually it's just a piece of wood. They did it with a giant picture of this guy's face, just to be extra funny. Walking through, switching them out for another guy who's about the same height and age as him, right? And seeing if people notice. And those people did not notice that this person had changed, because we do not expect that to happen, right? We don't expect someone else to just show up after something goes by.
Trinity Churches?
It's in that direction.
Okay. Last time I switched with someone who looked a little bit like me, but where's the fun in that?
Oh, excuse me. You know who best direct you? The other side. You see where that lady's standing?
Sure.
That's the booth. No, the lady in the gray.
The other side.
Yeah, the other side of
But
the
you
booth.
say you don't know where it is?
Exactly what street? No, but it's in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Excuse me. Do you know where Trinity Church is from here?
Yeah, fine. Come on, I'll take you, or you want to walk now?
I'm gonna catch some other people. But
Sorry, guys. Okay,
you're
listen,
saying-
once you go on Broadway,
Yes.
remember the numbers are going... I could have sworn it was another guy. Once you hit the Broadway, you're going down.
Yes.
Walk up straight
that
that
way.
way and just walk straight down. You're
Brilliant.
gonna see it. It's right. It's really brown.
That's brilliant. Thanks for your help.
All right, fine. Don't worry about it.
Excuse me. Do you know where Trinity Church is? Ah, great. Where are we on here? We sort of there.
We're right here.
Right through, thank you.
Go on. We are Brooklyn Bridge. You want to cross over there, go down Broadway, and you'll be right there. Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, mate. Do you know this
Sure,
area?
no, whatever.
Do you know Piccadilly Circus?
Go the tree.
So through there?
Yeah, through the through Leicester Square.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, go on for me.
If you keep going that way,
This way?
you'll get to Piccadilly Circus.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good
Oh,
luck.
careful of the car. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Excuse me, are you familiar with this area? No. No? Okay, all right.
What are you trying to look at?
Piccadilly Circus?
Piccadilly Circus. Coming
Yeah.
back from here. Piccadilly Circus is
Oh,
right
sorry.
here.
Hang on, sorry. Sorry, which...
I just saw it right here.
Okay, so is that straight over?
Definitely not that way. Piccadilly Circus is, I know it's that direction.
Over that way. Okay, thank you. Do you know this area at all?
A little bit.
Do you know how to get to St Paul's from here? I'm not even quite sure where we are. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can you just trying to work out where I'm going?
We are here.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think it's sort of down there.
I'm sure that wouldn't have worked quite as well if I was a very famous pop star. Well, it took me over 2 hours to find Francesco's keys, which was disappointing, but I did go to Venice for free, and I didn't fall into the canal on the way home like a twat. Sorry, I don't know how to get to St Paul's from here.
Yeah, you were cut.
Ah, okay. Is it
Go
correct?
through to here.
Do you know where we are on
And
here?
then-
Sorry.
Which direction do we go?
Hang on, just get my bearings. Liverpool Street, right, okay, we are...
Is that down in this direction there?
Yeah, that road there is Old Broad Street.
So again, change race, change gender. Sometimes people don't even notice. The one person who really noticed, right, was the mom who wasn't helping because she's like, no, I don't know this area, right? And so I have one more about this too, more of a psych-based experiment here. No, this is the one that isn't working. Hang on. No. Yeah, sorry, I guess that one's not gonna work unless this Nova one does. Hang on just a sec. There was one where they did it behind a counter and like someone would go down and the other person would come up, kind of setting people up for an experiment.
You are about to take part in a quick experiment. Take a look at this. Okay, now, did you happen to notice anything odd? Watch again. See any changes?
Don't worry if you didn't see that it's two different men. It means your brain is doing exactly what it should be. It's focusing on the meaning of the scene rather than on the irrelevant details.
Imagine how much energy and brain mass it would take for us to remember every single person, place, or thing we encountered. The things that matter, a conversation with a coworker, your child's first step, would be drowned by a deluge of information. So when there are minor changes to the world around us, we often don't pick up on them. There are two similar phenomena at work.
Inattentional blindness.
So there's a couple of reasons that are really interesting for this. Like, this is used to the advantage of Hollywood, for example. So like, this is why we don't necessarily notice when someone's stunt double is it, right? A, they usually do really quick shots, but B, we're expecting it to be the actor, so we just sort of assume it is the actor. It also makes me think of, I think it's the end of Thor 2. Like, for some reason, Natalie Portman wasn't available for reshoots, and so they used Chris Hemsworth's actual wife. And like, nobody notices. Everyone just sort of assumes it's Natalie Portman because that's who you expect. But that's why he's so good at making out with that person, because it's his actual wife.
This is the failure to notice something that's fully obvious right there in front of you when your attention is engaged on something or someone else. Change blindness is a failure to notice a difference between what's there right now and what was there a moment ago.
Scientists such as Daniel Simons from the University of Illinois have spent years devising experiments testing just how perceptive and unperceptive humans actually are.
So we feel like we're aware of everything, that we're taking in all of the details, and that if something important happens, we'll automatically notice it. It'll capture our attention. The reality is that we often don't notice unexpected things because we're aware of far less of our world than we think we are.
So how much or how little are we actually aware of? We decided to recreate one of Simon's most famous experiments to see for ourselves. Here's the setup.
Our senior series producer Vin poses as a lost pedestrian and asks a passerby for directions.
Excuse me? I'm looking for the skyline.
Then, we break the two up, walking through them holding a large sheet of wood. Now watch as I replace Vin. You might think people would notice the switch, but almost half the time, they didn't. Of course.
When you look at another person, you
So, of course, we watch this.
whether or
So,
not you can figure
you
out
know,
the
watch
switch.
the scientist's explanation now.
When you look at another person, you encode what's relevant for what you're doing right then, in that case, giving directions, and you don't pay attention to the details that are irrelevant, say what color their shirt is or exactly how tall they are. As long as you are able to make sense of the meaning of the scene and roughly the main categories of that person, say their height, their age, what race they are, what sex they are, as long as those important things don't change, the meaning of the scene really hasn't changed and you're not going to notice that anything's different.
Scientists have documented inattentional and change blindness since the 1970s, and while they allow you to focus your attention, this failure to see every detail can prove costly. Drivers often cause accidents because they overlook quick changes to their environments, such as pedestrians or cyclists. Faulty memories can wreak havoc during eyewitness testimony.
The goal of vision isn't to build a photograph or a complete model of the world in your mind. The goal of vision is to make sense of the meaning of the world around you. Being aware of our limitations can help us adapt and compensate for them, allowing us to do things that prevent the really negative consequences that can happen due to failures of awareness.
For example, Simons thinks that people might be willing to put away their cell phone when driving if they just understood the limits to their attention. Juries might realize that eyewitness testimony is far from ideal. And the next time you and a friend are fighting about the details of a past event, it's likely you're both wrong. Now that's...
And that's true. That, you know, we don't have perfect memory. And in fact, the more we pull stuff out of our memory and talk about it, the worse it gets, not the better. So it's, you know, again, an interesting experience here. So I think we're to the point where looking at the case study is going to be the most helpful thing. So what I will do is, we've got a couple different folks on Zoom here. They stop share so I can see y'all. Yeah, so the three of y'all will be group 1. So you will do identifying information and background and history. And this is the case of Janet, which is Ogden chapter 7. So you all on Zoom will do identifying info and background and history. And hang on just one sec, I can get you a blank SGA here. Or not SGA, no, I want the case studies. There we go, case study sheet. Or not, I thought I had it there. There it is, yay. Give this to the Zoom folks, and then I'll come around and assign the in-person folks. So I'm throwing this in the chat for everybody. And it should allow you to open up a copy of it. There we go. So make sure you grab that link, and I'm gonna throw y'all in a breakout room. There we go. Alrighty. And then I'll have to see. I may have to. This feels pretty light. I might have to go run off some more copies, but let's see. Three, but I have 4 sections in theory. So why don't we do this? We'll have 3 of y'all be group 2, so you'll do symptoms. Sorry, that just rolled right over there. And then we'll have the 2 of y'all be group 3, so you'll do testing, results, and diagnosis. And have the 2 of y'all be group 4, so you'll do impact on life and family. And then have you 2 do treatment and effects. And I do have 1 copy of the case study book if anyone needs it, and then the markers are up here whenever y'all are ready. Yeah, Janet, I think it's chapter 7 is what I just said. Yeah. Like, what did I literally just say? I'm gonna turn the screen off, so I'm just gonna sort of mark where it is. Because it's a lot easier to read if we don't write there. There. Yeah. Sure. You can do it over here if you want. Yeah, as long as you stay to the left of the line, you're good. Alrighty, looks like everybody is ready. I'm gonna close our rooms and bring our folks back here. And do my thing where I get on Zoom and try not to create horrific echoes. All right. Check, check. No crazy echoes. All right. Yay. Okay. So Brittany got us started off here. And she is saying that our person is, and let me see if I can get the projector back on. Haha. I don't really want to stand on the chair again. No. Okay. So I'll just read it out loud actually. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. But she says, Janet, 50 years old, intelligent and energetic. And then she said that Janet married young. She had 2 children and was an active member of several community groups. Took business class at age 45 and scored well. And on her 50th birthday, she drove into the left side of the garage doorway. 2 days later, she was found dazed and confused, disoriented, and incongruent, and was taken to a neurologist. So obviously not great, and clearly someone who was pretty intelligent to begin with, right? And this is profoundly affecting her. So her symptoms, go ahead. Walk us through. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it counts. Yeah, so here is someone who is suddenly having a tumor, and that is leading to all sorts of different things going on. So, testing results here is next up.
I'm Dr. Protective skills worker, damaged much. She showed poor results on digit span, which is consistent with people with neglects. They have harder, they're worse at concentrating on this sort of tasks. She showed visual heavy neglect when reading books and writing words like her name. She made more letters.
Right.
That's like drawing the star in a box. She would only do about half of it on the right side and not try the left side of objects. And yeah, mood neglect in her left arm, shown by difficulty moving, rolling it, and also lots of sensation.
Yeah, yeah. So here's someone who not only is struggling with visual hemi neglect, but is just neglecting her left arm altogether, right? All right, diagnosis. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's do treatment and effectiveness next. Yeah. So maybe a little too optimistic, but then also she did have pretty good recovery, right? So that can happen sometimes. And sometimes doctors are pleasantly surprised, right? All right, let's talk about impact on life and family. And if I'm too much away, let me know.
She had slurred speech, but still had conversational ability. And then after her death, her husband became seriously depressed from grief and a lack of purpose. And then the impact on her life, she had daily visits as an outpatient for radiotherapy treatment, and she was unable to function at her job at her previous level. She had to leave after 18 months due to the increased weakness in her left arm and leg and return of severe visual and motor neglect. And then that made her very depressed. And then she stopped taking her meds after learning that the tumor was rapidly growing back, and spent most of her time at home watching TV and talking to visitors and family. And then she ultimately passed away 4 years after she was first admitted to the hospital.
Yeah, so like she did well for a while, but then, you know, what happens, and unfortunately a lot of these cases happens, right? And I very much appreciated that you all were very realistic on the midterm in terms of the possibility of recovery, right? So give me just a sec. Get this side all back up here. Alrighty. There we go. So yeah, I mean, here you see a case where she did really well for a while, right? But then after that while, not so much, which, you know, again, is sad and depressing. But unfortunately, what can happen with these cases, right? Where you have a brain tumor, right? So like the outcomes can only be so good, at least with our current treatments. Maybe one day we'll be much better at like getting the whole tumor out and being able to restore your function, right? Maybe one day we'll 3D print a part of your brain to put back in. I don't know, you know, like I'm just conjecturing, right? But you know, in some cases it means you can't fully return to functioning, and that something down the line will additionally, like, even though it's very different symptoms, some things about her case really remind me of Phineas Gage, right? In terms of like not being able to do her job at capacity, and then like a few years later losing her life. So all right, well, we'll end a little early today. Excellent job, y'all. And if anyone came in late and did not get their test back and wants to come see me for it, I have them. And then folks on Zoom, you can get yours on Wednesday.